going on, world? Welcome to the Life Malcolm Show, right here on In Touch News Radio, where everybody is a star and the biggest star is you. I'm your host, Life Malcolm. Up in here, man. It's good to be back. Last week, it was still good. We got a new setup. I'm sure you can see the angle a little different, but we all in your grill right now, and so yeah, just happy to be back in the studio. Last week, I had to stick around a court hearing, go handle this traffic court thing. But anyway, I'll get to that later. I'll get to that in a minute. I have to do as I customarily do each week. I have to show big love and appreciation to my main man, DJ CEO, and my sister, Mrs. DJ CEO, a.k.a. Tampa Bay Tammy, for making this In Touch News Radio platform available for the Life Malcolm Show and other programs as well. Really want to appreciate that because getting an opportunity to talk to you, getting an opportunity to, fellowship. I like that. The opportunity to share what's on my mind, and even sometimes get an opportunity to hear from you. And I'm gonna say how we can make that happen in just a few moments. But I also want to show mad appreciation to my main man, DJ Bezel. Yeah, right here behind the boards, making all the magic happen. And of course, I have to thank you for tuning in and making the Life Malcolm Show what it is when you do tune in. So I appreciate that. Speaking of tuning in, not only can you tune in as you are on whatever platform you tuned in right now, but I tell you, you can also tune in to, I just give you some various ways you can tune in case you want to switch it up. You can tune in on intouchnews.com. You can also tune in on the In Touch News Facebook page, and you can tune in on the In Touch News YouTube channel, and you can leave comments and what have you. And I think we've gotten to the point now where DJ Bezel can keep up with you. You can type in the comments and he'll say, hey, somebody said something. I'd be like, oh, okay, bet. And get a like a real time shout out, a conversation going. Also, you can call in. That's how you can tune in. You can also call in at area code 813-444-9588. Yeah, call in and holler at your boy. We can have a conversation. So, you know how we do, right? If you've never tuned into the Life Malcolm Show before, I'll kind of give you a preview, if you will, of what's to come. We start the show off with what we call a little something light. And that's me just kind of kicking it with you a little bit, telling you about what has occurred since the last time we hung out, since the last time we kicked it together. And oftentimes the light is also something heavy. So we're gonna deal with something light. Then we're gonna move to our political education portion of the show after the is that what we're doing? Yeah, we're doing something light, then political education. Then after our political education piece, we come back and we're gonna do a word from the word. And after a word from the word, take a break and then come back and just kind of close out the show talking about some stuff. And this week, if you don't know, because you aren't tuned in to me on social media, the Something Light is going to be about nice people, So, nice people. And then the political education, of course, is going to be, whose birthday was yesterday, brother?
Whose birthday was it?
Brother Malcolm X's birthday was yesterday. Yesterday was Malcolm X's birthday. And so, Yeah, we gonna talk about Brother Malcolm a little bit today for our political education piece, and then our word from the words gonna come from Matthew 12 verses 40. Well, yeah, Matthew chapter 12 verses 46 through 50, and then our conclusion is gonna be about a little this and that. Mainly lawyer life. We're gonna share some things with you about that. Um, that new phenomenon for me, at least. So something like I said last week, I had to attend a hearing, had to cover a hearing for the managing partner at the firm where I work, and it was a traffic court case. And generally, traffic court is in the evening, like especially those red light camera ticket cases. I hate those. Had a few back in the day. Hate them. Love it when the other side doesn't show up. Like this case, not my case, but on this evening, the Hillsborough County Sheriffs didn't show up. So everybody whose red light camera ticket came from Hillsborough County Sheriffs got their case dismissed because the sheriff, the deputy assigned to that particular duty decided that, or for whatever reason, I can't say he decided, maybe they told him not to come, but for whatever reason, that deputy didn't show up to court. And so everybody whose red light camera ticket came from the county got their case dismissed. I was hoping that was going to be my client. And like I said, I was covering the case, so I ain't know nothing about the circumstances of this case, at least not deeply. So I wasn't sure what agency administered the ticket or whatever. So here the judge or the little hearing officer, whatever, say, if you got a Hillsborough County ticket, then your case is going to dismiss your case because the deputy's not coming. I was like, I had to get on, look up and see if my client was in that bunch, and certainly was not. But before I even got in the courtroom, I had this little, not confrontation, but this encounter with this dude who, this African, with the security uniform on. I'm standing in the hallway trying to communicate about this case to somebody in the firm. And while I'm on the phone, I'm talking and typing, right? Got my little Bluetooth, so I'm talking on the phone and I'm typing on the phone, trying to get something together for this particular case. And this African who back there doing a security move, whatever, says, you got to come on through, brother. He said, come on through or something like that. I said, just give me 1 second, brother. He said, well, you need to go to the front then, brother. I was like, ain't no problem. So I walked to the front, went ahead and concluded my business. Then when I came through, the security line, dude wasn't there. But a woman who worked with him at the time doing the security screening thing was like, oh, Life, I remember you used to apparently work with this woman who I got children from. And she was like, I remember her from way back when. I remember your girls and this and that and the third. I was like, yeah, that's what's up. And she was like, so happy to see me and kind of loudly expressing such. And this white woman sitting in the waiting area for the people who had the court thing, the court hearing. This white woman walks out, was like, everybody know Life. Who don't know Life? And I was like, apparently that little African, like, you need to go to the front then, brother. I'm like, especially this dude, right? I mean, apparently this dude. So I get up in there, go through the security joint. I'm sitting in the courtroom, and only attorneys. They would only allow attorneys in there early. So I'm sitting in there, getting ready for the case, just brushing up on what I needed to know as much as I could in the short amount of time before it started. Because I'd never done a traffic court hearing before. That's not what I do. I do, other stuff. I mean, it's not something I've done, but so it just new to me. It's a different kind of vibe. When even like a judge, they have a hearing, what they call a hearing officer, and just different kind of things. So I wanted to know how to do it, and so the same security guard who was messing with me while I was outside comes through like, only attorneys are allowed to be in here early. I said, that's why I'm in here. Like, you an attorney? I said, yeah, that's why I'm in here. You an attorney? Hey, that's why I'm in here. You got your bar card? Showed him my bar card. That's all you had to do. That's what I'm going to ask you. So I went ahead and handled my business. I was hoping to observe how other attorneys did the traffic court thing, but I never got a chance to observe that because they called my client first. So went up there, and fortunately, everything was super smooth. The hearing officer was super nice. It was like $100 flat, no points assessed. Just got to pay this $100 by close of business on this day. I was like, bet, super cool. And it was just a contrast, like between this African and then this hearing officer, what they call a hearing officer. So that was that day. That was last Tuesday. This past Friday, Thursday or Friday, I had to go get some court documents for this client. She was a potential client at the time, but she did retain us, so she's a client. Now I had to go get these court documents, and I had to go to window 33. At window 32 was this African, fat woman who, with a nasty attitude. Like, last time I had to go to her counter, she was just a really nasty person, and I thought I had to go to her window. She was like, no, you had 33, which was right next to her. And it was this white woman with this pleasant smile. The smile, it doesn't cost a thing to smile, but her smile was like worth $1 million. And she greeted me kindly, was very helpful. I mean, just made the entire experience a pleasant encounter. And I really, really appreciated that, man. Niceness goes a long way. And on my way to the courthouse, I don't like paying them machines with the credit card because it'll charge you for a full hour, even if you're not staying but 15 minutes. So that day I got like $10 in quarters, and I had a $50 bill. I went to the store, I got $10 in quarters, and got 220s back. And I put the 220s when I got the car, put it in my pocket when I got the car to walk to the courthouse. And the 20s, I have a hole in my pocket. And on the side, though, like right where the lining is, so you can't really, it's not at the bottom, it's on the side. You can avoid it. But I didn't. And so I dropped my $40. When I got ready to pay this expensive dollar per copy price for these documents, I realized I didn't have the $40. And I know I'm coming close to a break, but I just want to finish this story. So I walked back outside to see if I could find the money, retrace my steps. Couldn't find the money. Looked all in the car, couldn't find the money. But there's this woman outside who was picking up trash with this little thing, little picker thing, scooping up, picking up trash. And I said, you didn't happen to find $40, did you? She was like, what denomination? I said, 220s. She said, yes. And she pulled it out and said, right here. She said, I ain't have to say. I said, I could have said, I ain't find nothing. I said, yeah, I really appreciate you being honest. I gave her $10 and said, have lunch on me. And it just, man, so just the contrast between the nasty people and the nice people. I just want to say nothing beats being nice. I really, really appreciate people in this world who are nice. Shout out to the nice people. I see y'all on the other side of the break, though. We finna talk some political education. A little bit about our beloved brother, Minister Malcolm X. When we get back right here on the Life Malcolm Show.
Listening to Tampa Bay Tammy,
your girlfriend,
on In Touch Radio.
In Touch Radio.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here for you.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers on the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
We're playing your favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
Yo, 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 yo. Yeah. Guess who's back in the In Touch house? All right. So welcome back to the Life Malcolm Show. Y'all really want to appreciate you tuning in. My name is Life Malcolm. I'm your host. Just got finished talking about a little something light, man. Just nice people. You know, it don't hurt to be nice, and you'd be surprised. At least I was surprised to learn just how much the world and people in the world will open up to you if you're nice. I mean, I grew up being not nice because, quite frankly, my upbringing fostered that type of disposition. I grew up with a lot of yelling and hollering and fussing and, you know, not a lot of cussing because a bunch of Christians. You know, I grew up around a bunch of people who do Christianity, but you know, man, they still know how to fuss and argue and make, you know, little things, big things, and you know, unnecessarily so. And it was just you know, that kind of upbringing. You know, just people always high strung and hostile. I just thought that was the way people were supposed to be. I didn't realize that I used to think there was something wrong with people who were nice. Like I thought they had some kind of social dysfunction. I didn't realize it was, you know, me, probably, most likely. And you know, yeah. So it wasn't until, and I'm not embarrassed to admit it. I mean, maybe I should be, but the truth be the truth. It wasn't until I went back to college in 2013, 2014, something like that. So just a few years ago, I'm 47 years old. So it wasn't like, you know, when I was like 39, 40 years old, that I really saw a lot of people being nice. And I know I need to start talking about the brother minister, but I just wanted to say something about this night. And I guess it segues because Brother Malcolm was nice. Fierce with them words, but nice nonetheless. And, you know, so I just, you know, when I left Jesuit was a hostile situation for me. Jesuit High School, you know, all them white boys, all white boys, and all white. There was only one African in the school, and you probably heard me talk about this before. And that African was a janitor named Marvin, and you know, he was nice. But everybody else, man, for the most part, made that Jesuit experience a hostile experience, whether intentionally. I couldn't say, but just the environment, just being around all the colonizers who acted like colonizers, who just made the environment hostile for me. Then I left there, went to the Navy, much of the same. And then when I got from the Navy and came back here, I worked on a construction site. Ain't nobody out there nice. Everybody out there hot, bothered, you know, working hard. Some of the sharpest tongues, you know, and the shortest patience you ever want to see on a construction site, right? And you know, we got weapons out there, hammers, saws, trowels. You know, you get hurt, you know, up in the air, you know, get tossed off the scaffold. So you know, it's a lot on edge. And I never really worked in an environment. Even when I went to Morehouse, I think I had that. And I carried that meanness with me, I'm sure. And that was, you know, during the when the genesis, I guess, of hardcore gangster rapper. Right when we started, we talking, Death Row, The Chronic, Snoop Dogg, Tupac, all that. Everybody trying to be hard and thugging, and the world was just an insane place for Africans, especially in the ATL. So it was still on edge, kind of, chip on your shoulders. It wasn't until I got to be in my 40s, late 30s, very early 40s, that I saw people being nice, like just because, helping people, like, oh, you dropped a book, let me pick it up for you, or do you need some help with this assignment? And it was just really cool, watching people be nice and learning how to be nice myself. All right, enough of that. So we're gonna do this political education piece. We started our political education piece on the Life Malcolm Show with the African Pledge. Find that for us. All right. The African Pledge says, I pledge allegiance to my African people. I pledge to develop my mind and body to the greatest extent possible. I will learn all that I can in order to give the best to my people and our struggle for liberation through revolution. I will keep myself physically fit, building a strong body, free from drugs and other substances which weaken me and make me less capable of defending myself, my family, and my African brothers and sisters. I will unselfishly share my knowledge and understanding with others in order to bring about change more quickly. I will discipline myself to direct my energies thoughtfully and constructively rather than wasting time in idle hatred. I will train myself never to hurt or allow others to harm my African brothers and sisters, for I recognize that we need every African man, woman, and child to be physically, mentally, and psychologically strong. These principles I pledge to practice daily and to teach them to others in order to unite my people in the struggle for freedom and independence. So that's our African Pledge. I really appreciate the pledge because it helps me to stay focused on the objective, not only the objective that I have as an African revolutionary for the masses of colonized African workers, not just that goal of freedom and independence, but incorporated in the pledge are, a number of self-checks where I can critique myself. Am I doing what I must to keep my body free from drugs and other substances? Not just drugs, but other substances like processed foods, for example. Junk food. Lately, I found this potato chips that I like, and been on them, and I got to get up off them. They got all them chemicals in them. I can't say that they weaken me, but at least not at this time. But no, I got to get off that. Am I doing what I can to learn all that I can? So a lot of self checks. Another thing, keeping myself physically strong and capable of defending myself, and others, my family and others, etc. So it's a good pledge. I like starting our political education with that. So, brother Malcolm, man, brother minister is dear to me in my heart. I used to read a lot about the minister Malcolm X when I was just coming into the understanding that I am an African. I understood for a long time. I had this belief that I was some kind of American, and I tried to be one. I did I had the white pledge, what they call it, the pledge of the allegiance. I had that, memorized code, and would do that stuff over my heart and salute when I was in the military and all that kind of stuff, right? And thought I was a good American. And even though I'd heard of Malcolm X, like my first introduction to Malcolm was through Public Enemy, as a matter of fact, and Fight the Power. And I think it was Professor Griff who used to rock the hat with the X on it or something like that. And so that's how I got hip to Malcolm X. Like, who was that? And then I saw a shirt with a cartoon depiction of Malcolm X. And I remember buying the shirt and wearing the shirt, and my mother telling me that I couldn't wear the shirt because Malcolm was like a Muslim and you know, and didn't believe in God, and I think didn't believe in Jesus. He believes in Allah. And you know, it's kind of like the devil worshiping or something, some kind of stuff. So, and I didn't know anything about Malcolm's political leanings, and at that point in my life, religion was the center of my world. You know, I believed in God and devils and angels and stuff like that. So, but when I went off to the United States Naval Academy Preparatory School, I had occasion to see Spike Lee's movie Malcolm X, watch the movie, and although I can't say I really have a great appreciation for that film at this point in my development, at that time in my life, that film was everything. I was fascinated by Denzel's portrayal of Malcolm X, and so I started reading. I read Malcolm's autobiography according to Alex Haley, and that, of course, led me to want to read other books, but still kept me on Malcolm. And one of the things, this is back in the days when we had cassette tapes, and there was this joint. It was like a 3 cassette set, and I bought that joint. It had Malcolm's, you know, face on the cover. It was like a bronzing, you know, background. And man, I think I had played those tapes so many times. I memorized all the words on both sides. You know, we had to flip the tape. You know, just it was a really transformative time in my life. And then I had an opportunity to, you know, one of course, when you know, got back home from Rhode Island to Tampa, still on my Malcolm X quest, had an opportunity just traveling, or certainly when I went to Atlanta, and you know, Atlanta being at that time a hub of Afrocentricity and some would say Pan-Africanism and ideas of Black nationalism. You know, I was able to get my hands on some Malcolm X speeches, and you know, outside of the commercially sold cassette tapes I'd come across, and just, man, really got to know Malcolm X in my view, in an intimate way as best one could, without having the opportunity to know him personally and shake his hand. And so I'm gonna tell you a few things about that, you know, that relationship with Brother Malcolm and myself when we get back from break. But we're gonna take a break right now, and we'll talk on the other side of that about a little bit more about Malcolm X, and then we're gonna move into a word from the word. But that's right after this.
Favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
Call Ricky. Ask Ricky. You need medical or a lawyer? I got the man to do the legwork for you.
tried the other ones before, so believe we hunted down 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay, call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida, grab a pen of sundown. 184-361-RICK. That's 184-361-425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, push your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361-RICK. Call Ricky, ask Ricky, is a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and getting you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
All right. Welcome back to the Life Malcolm Show, right here on In Touch News, where everybody's a star, and the biggest star is you. I'm your host, Life Malcolm, and we're talking about Malcolm X, that is. And let me remind you that you can call in at 813-444-9588. That's 813-444-9588. I'd love to hear from you. We can chat. If you got some thoughts about Brother Malcolm X you'd like to share, I'd love to hear those. But let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about me and my little thoughts about the brother. One of the I don't even know if I can call it a rumor. One of the mischaracterizations I'd heard about Malcolm X, and still often hear people try to tout, is that Malcolm X went to Mecca, and when he went to Mecca, he came back changed, like different. You know, when he came back, some people try to say he became something like Martin Luther King Jr. or something when he came back, and he became some kind of integrationist or something. But you know, it's nothing like being able to read and listen and learn and observe for yourself. And I remember listening to Malcolm when he came back from his Hajj, you know, right in one of his speeches shortly before bandits assassinated him at the Audubon Ballroom. He said, he's still a Muslim. His religion is still Islam, and he went on ahead to talk about. That's what I wanted to say. I was talking country. Went on ahead to talk about the fact that when he was in Mecca, because he talked about how Elijah Muhammad had made Africans in the Nation of Islam believe that white people couldn't be Muslims. And he got to Mecca and saw white Muslims just like he saw African Muslims. And some people took that to mean that Malcolm didn't know that there were Muslims, that there were white people who were Muslims. But that one would have to be quite naive or know nothing about Malcolm X at all to even believe that. Even listening to that speech, that's not what Malcolm was saying, right? Malcolm said that's what Elijah Muhammad taught him. That's what he said. He didn't say he thought it or he believed it. He just said that's what Elijah Muhammad taught. And then he got to Mecca and was able to say, because, you know, having not been there, Malcolm X was a smart guy, a scientist, if you will, well-read, world traveler. He understood religions, you know, or their origins, etc. You know, Islam spans the globe. So Malcolm, in my estimation, if I had to guess, if I had to bet on it, I'm sure he knew that there were white-skinned Muslims. However, he wasn't the one to challenge Elijah Muhammad on such an assertion. Like that wasn't that wasn't the role he played in the nation. However, when he broke from the nation, he was able to come and say that when he got to Mecca, because like I said, he was a scientist. Everything is about evidence and proof. So he couldn't say I know for a fact I saw it with my own eyes until he went and saw it with his own eyes. He said, "Oh well, he there they are." But the thing that Malcolm was clear about was that over in Mecca, the white people, if they did refer to the fact that they were white, they referred to it just as a matter of fact, as a part of a description of their physical characteristics. However, Malcolm pointed out that white people in the U.S., when they say they're white, they mean boss. They mean I'm boss. And so Malcolm was really clear about the fact that he still understood the distinction between colonized people and people who are colonizers, and he never came back from Mecca retreating from the idea that African people had to have our own independent ruling power. He never backtracked from that. So that was one of the things that was really eye-opening for me when I first got into Malcolm. Another thing is the idea of the house Negro and the field Negro. And of course this was quite some time before he went to Mecca with this house Negro, field Negro thing. But I'd heard it, for the first time in the Spike Lee movie, but it wasn't until I heard Malcolm explain how you have these Africans who are out of their mind, who would who would kill themselves trying to save the master's burning house, and then could look at Africans all around me in this country who would sacrifice themselves, and not just themselves, but sacrifice African working class people, sacrifice the interests of the African working class, sell out the African working class, all to stay in the master's house, or to try to get in the master's house. They're not even in the house, but trying to get in the house. They'll sell you out, set you up, and and brag about it. I'm the only one, like Malcolm said. I'm the only one on my job. I'm the only one at my school, like Malcolm said. You nothing but a house Negro. And so I really appreciated that explanation about Malcolm, by Malcolm X, about the class distinction. Malcolm was clear about the distinction between nations. You got the colonized nation and the colonized nation, and Malcolm was clear. When they have their army, we need to have our army. They have their flag, we need to have our flag. Malcolm was clear about that. But then Malcolm also shed light on the class question. There's a difference within the nation between working class Africans, who he characterized as field Negroes, and petty bourgeois Africans, who he characterized as house Negroes. And the last thing I would say about Malcolm X is this whole idea of the ballot or the bullet, that he knows a very riveting speech. If you haven't heard it, you should listen to it. You can Google it these days, YouTube it, and hear it. It's an incredible speech, and it's still a thorough analysis of the political landscape. When I say political, I'm talking this thing that passes off as politics, the contest, the ruling class contest between the Democrats and the Republicans, and whoever else tries to throw their ruling class hat in the ring. Malcolm gave a thorough analysis of that contest, and at that point in time made the declaration that Africans were in a position, had come to a level of cognizance that seizing political power was going to be a matter of, the ballot or the bullet. At this juncture, though, in history, African people have come to even sharper determination that the political power we seek, the independence that we seek, is going to have to come by the ballot and the bullet. And also has allowed me to understand that there's more than one way to vote. Like when I heard the ballot or the bullet speech initially many years ago, the ballot or the bullet, while it presents an obvious choice, obvious options, this or that, it didn't, as my dear friend Fred would say, it did not dawn on me that inherent in the statement, the ballot or the bullet, was this idea that there's more than one way to vote. And so I really appreciated that about Malcolm. Those are some things. Man, we could talk some more about Malcolm X too. And now that I think of it, I want to do that. So we're gonna have another conversation about Malcolm, maybe close to African Liberation Day in the month of his assassination, something like that. But we're gonna talk right now about a word from the Word, and this is what we're gonna do. I think I have a couple minutes before I go to break. So what I'm gonna do is read the verses that are the subject of a word from the Word today, and then when we get back from break, we'll talk about it just a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna quickly read. If you have your Bible phone, a phone Bible, you can turn to Matthew 12:46-50. I'm reading from the King James Version. And it says, while he yet talked to the people, Jesus was always talking to the people, wasn't he? While he yet talked to the people, behold, his mother and his brethren stood without, desiring to speak with him. Then one said unto him, behold, thy mother and thy brethren stand without, desiring to speak with thee. But he answered and said unto him that told him, who is my mother, and who are my brethren? And he stretched forth his hand toward his disciples and said, behold, my mother and my brethren. For whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother. So we're going to talk about those verses when we get back from this last break of the day. So stay tuned. Get your phones ready so you can call in and talk about it if you want. This is the Life Malcolm Show right here on In Touch News, and we'll be right back.
This is Ainsley Doe with Florida Realty Unlimited. As a broker with 15 years experience and a veteran of the Navy, I do understand your needs. Real estate prices are up. So if you're thinking of selling your home, call me for a free market analysis. If you're planning to buy a home, please call me for a free buyer's consultation. For more information, call Ainsley Doe at 813-546-1954. Once again, the number is 813-546-1954. Or check my ad out in the In Touch You.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers on the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
Yo. All right, welcome back to the Life Malcolm Show. We're right here on In Touch News, where everybody is a star, and the biggest star is you, especially if you call. Call me up, man, 813-444-9588. And if not, that's okay. We keep on talking. We got some things to talk about. So, I was in this discussion about Jesus and whether Jesus was a nationalist, a separatist, whether Jesus was only came here for his people. I believe there's a Bible verse, and we can work on it one day, but today's not the subject. But it kind of, my understanding of that verse feeds into my understanding of this verse. And that verse says something like, I come for none but the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And that to me is very definitive. I come for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Not even all the sheep of the house of Israel, the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Not the ones who not lost, right? So he came for a very specific group. The sound like the outcast or the cast, the downcast perhaps. But anyway, with that understanding in mind, when I read this verse, Jesus talking about who is my brother, my mother, my sister, and then he says that it's any and everybody who does the will of his Father who is in heaven. I don't interpret that to mean that such a description fits. I don't take that to mean that Jesus is down for anybody, no matter what. Like that he somehow is an integrationist because because of the statement and ideas asserted regarding who his mother, brother, sister is in this verse. And try not to convolute it, but as I read that particular verse, I immediately recognize that there are people who belong, like a few moments ago, we talked about nations, different nations, colonize a nation. And we talked about classes within the nation, the petty bourgeois class, who has its lips surgically attached to the rear end of the colonizer nation, and the African working class who, the colonized class who, if intelligent, is fighting like hell to get away from the colonizer. What history has shown us over the course of time, that there are people who look like you, look like me, sometimes even in our own homes, that will betray us for the benefit of themselves in the interests of the colonizer nation. In other words, some of us got brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers who the police, and will likely lock us up and put us in jail in the interest of the colonizer nation because they have some kind of allegiance to that process that for them supersedes their familial connection to you. And the question then becomes, well, who is that person to you? I mean, certainly, so the biological relationship cannot be denied, but like Jesus said, really, who is this person? However, just like those type people exist, there are also people in the colonizer nation who will do what we've come to understand in the political world as commit national suicide and abandon the interests of the colonizer nation and do the work and the will and the bidding of the colonized nation. Yeah. I'm a member of the African People's Socialist Party, as you know. And in the party, not in the party, but working closely with the party, is a group of white people the African Solidarity, the African People Solidarity Committee. And this group of nothing but white people have abandoned their interests in the colonizer nation and committed their entire lives, everything about their lives, to doing the work to overturn colonial oppression as it affects African people and others around the world. That's what they do their whole life. They have been doing it for decades. You also have that's one example, that the African People Solidarity Committee and the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, another group of white people. It's a mass organization who have allied themselves with the colonized nation against the colonizer. Such persons are living examples of what national suicide is. And we in the African People's Socialist Party gladly and proudly call these white people who've committed national suicide, we call them comrades and mean it, not because of some kind of consanguinity, a relationship by blood or anything like that, but because of relationship, a principled relationship to do the work of not of our Father which is in heaven, but to do the work of African people right here on earth to overturn colonial oppression. Similarly, class suicide. There have been people who have been, part of who have been a part of the so-called middle class or petty bourgeois class, and thereby apart from the African working class or the working class people. For example, Che Guevara, tremendous revolutionary, was a dentist. He in the upper crust, if you will, but he abandoned that life to do the work of the people, committed class suicide to do the work of the people. Similarly, Fidel Castro, right, abandoned his station as a lawyer, to become the commander of one of the greatest revolutionary forces the world has ever seen, certainly in modern times. That's another example of class, suicide. So one can find brothers and sisters and mothers in places that ain't on the family tree. And Jesus recognized that. I tell you myself, I have brothers who don't come from my parents. Yes, I do. Dana Lett is one of my brothers. Dana and I thick as thieves. And it's that relationship is based on certain principles, certain interests in common, and some other stuff. But 100%. Your brother, your mother, your sister. I have a mother who didn't birth me. Shout out to Martina Strange. And so on. And so, I see this particular verse as Jesus acknowledging that sometimes the people who came out of the same womb as you are not as important as the people who are in the same room as you. And that don't mean that he somehow was opening up himself as an integrationist and anybody can come on in and be his brother or his sister. I don't interpret it that way. But I'd like to hear what you think about it. If you don't want to call in this week, need a little more time to talk about it, think about it, that's fine. Call next week. And we can retro your questions. Be glad to touch back on it. But as we get ready to close this edition of the Life Malcolm Show, I want to talk to you a little bit about lawyer life. As you know, or may not know, I'm a lawyer. I'm an attorney at law, and it's different for me because for most of my life, I have been an opponent of the courtroom and people in it, a vehement opponent. And that's not to say that I'm not now, but I was a little different. You know, never would have imagined myself in a court room in a suit. Matter of fact, I wrote a poem many years ago that said, "You never catch me in a suit and tie, no matter who getting married or who the hell done died, because everybody knows that it ain't about your clothes, because you can be finely dressed up but have a mighty messed up soul." And right? And so I just never saw myself at this place, but I'm here now, and making the adjustment. Not only am I here now, I'm here now at almost 50 years old, just starting out as an attorney. A lot of people, if you're smart, they you jump into your career at least in your 20s, fresh out of college or whatever, something like that. Some people reinvent, but a lot of those people also, they kind of own their own children, going what have you. I have young children still, 24-year-old, 14-year-old, and 13-year-old, and a grandbaby, 2 years old, and sometimes, and a wife and mother, and people I care about, who I gotta, who are an important part of my life. And so the question now for me is, every day, is how do I balance lawyer life? Because lawyer life is different than poetry life. Poetry life, I wake up when I want to, get dressed when I want to, wear what I want to, whatever, do what I want to. It ain't the same as lawyer life, though. You gotta be places at certain times and wear certain kinds of get up in order to, to participate in the business, and so it's really different. But one thing that I'm happy to say is that my priorities ain't changed. My priority has always been to my people and to my family. And I heard a lawyer today say, when asked how do you balance lawyer life with home life, personal life, and he said that one time his wife asked him to pick up his children from school, their children from school, and he was like, "All right, no problem." She was like, "You know where to go, right?" And he was like, "Yeah, I go." She said, "No, that was last year," and he realized that he had become so engulfed in his profession as a lawyer, he didn't even know who his children's teachers were. And he said that he realized that made him, that was an eye-opening kind of thing for him. It made him realize that he maybe needed to reprioritize. And I'm happy to say that at this juncture in my life, I know all my children's teachers and many of their friends, and I keep all that lawyer life stuff, where it belongs, and hopefully